Zach, you're gonna introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm happy to. My name is Zach Brandwine. I've met the two of you before, and Frank just met you. So our firm represents the town. We're general counsel to the town. What does that mean? We represent the town as a legal entity. It's a little vague, but essentially, our legal and professional and ethical obligations to provide the best, most accurate, timely legal advice. And that's advice that we give to you as the select board members. The select board is sort of an entity that speaks for the town, and we have to take our marching orders from the select board. And we report back to the select board in terms of this is what our legal advice is on any particular issue. If the need comes up, we'll also, can provide attorneys to staff the planning board or board of appeals, and to provide advice to sort of other legal departments or other departments of the town, excuse me, as you think is appropriate and necessary. I'll tell you, in my experience, it's always best if the select board acts unanimously in directing us as town attorneys to research something, take some particular action, hear back from us. It's always best if you sort of act by, together anyway. But certainly when you're asking for legal advice, you're getting legal advice back from us, and you're considering it. It's sort of this is a good format for you to sort of consider that legal advice and make decisions based on it. We're available to answer all sort of general municipal governance questions, questions about warrant articles, questions about roads, questions about code enforcement, land use planning issues, permitting issues. My personal specialty is for general land use, general governance, and then litigation and property tax issues. I've got colleagues, so if a labor and employment issue came up in town, I've got colleagues that I would say, you call me and I'd say, okay, I'm going to put one of my colleagues on this, and I put them in touch with you. I've also got colleagues that do real estate, so occasionally real estate issues come up for towns, state property through tax foreclosure. There's a new law about that state. I'll go off on a bit of a digression here, but the state recently, the U.S. Supreme Court recently said, if you, the town, take a property through a tax foreclosure and you go and sell the property, you've got to give the difference between what was owed in property taxes essentially and all the costs and fees and everything. You got to give the difference between that and what you sold the property for back to the former property owner. That was never the law in Maine until like a couple of months ago. Right. So the state legislature passed an emergency law that basically said, well, this is what you got to do. There's a whole bunch of sort of technical compliance stuff that's going to have to go along with that all towns are still figuring out. So, if you've got tax foreclosure property and you go to sell it, like we get one of our real estate colleagues involved to help sort of guide you through that process. So I'm sort of just the face of a team of lawyers that are available with all kinds of different specialties whenever an issue comes up with town. My promise to you is I will get back to you same day. If you call me or ask me, I'll try and get back to you the same day with a substantive answer. If it's going to take some more time, I'll let you know. I'm happy to be working for all of you, and we're at your disposal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll try not to be too much of a pain.
And I'd say the towns of MMA, they've got great lawyers there. They are usually a pretty good resource for some quick, easy, cut and dry questions.
We try to use that first, give us a guide, and then expand off that.
Yeah, I think that's always that's a really good model. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Department heads, what we have here. Only one.
Have we done the minutes?
Which one? Only one, huh?
No.
No.
We make a motion.
I make a motion to accept the July 18th, 2023 Selectmen's meeting.
Second. All in favor? Yeah.
Payroll and stuff's been done.
Diggy?
He said it was skipped. We had several calls this month. We did 3 mutual aids, 2 motor vehicle crashes, 1 citizen assist unlocked a car, the child was locked in it. 3 water rescues on the Saco River, 1 flooded road, 1 fire alarm, and 7 medical calls. And we're still working on the FEMA for the first storm. We're meeting Friday at 9 o'clock here with the FEMA representative. And then after this one, this would finish that one up, and then we're gonna start on the second storm we had in May. And we'll start that process with the same person we have now.
Yeah.
And the third storm, I don't think we're gonna get any help from, because we have to have $1.2 million in damages, Roxy County, and we're not getting it. They went out the other, 2 weeks ago, we tested all the dry hydrants that are in the water and ponds, make sure they're all set. We got the parts for the hydrant that's broke up on Dugway, so we're gonna get together and get that dug and fixed. We'll be hose testing Monday in Freiburg. And got the new radios installed in the trucks, or it did have proper channels that we could use, so we got 4 of them, they're all installed, working great. Good. And these can plug it out.
I'll give a broadband.
I am here.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so I'll be brief, but we got pretty exciting news. I'm here to recommend to the board that we move forward on a proposal given by Charter Spectrum. We got a bunch of really good proposals. We feel that Charter Spectrum, they brought a huge pile of chips to the table. So the grant request is millions and millions and millions of dollars lower than anybody else's, and as such, we think that in this coming grant round where we know that only $20 million available to anybody that wins, we're happy to go with Charter Spectrum with their $7 million grant ask, as opposed to going with GWI, who's got a beautiful proposal, but they need to ask for 65% of the total allowable money. We just don't think that that's feasible. We don't think it'll go forward. So if we want to ask for the town's approval to go forward with Spectrum, I sent an email to you a hot 11 minutes ago.
Okay.
So you don't have that from me. It's got a couple of documents in it, but that's what we're looking for. Formal.
Okay.
It's just funny that people in Denmark just got a letter from Spectrum saying that base rate is gonna go to $85.
Make no mistake, the Spectrum Charter, they claim to have nationwide pricing. That is a fancy way to say nobody's got control over price but Spectrum anywhere. That's what that means, and prices are not likely to go down. The best I can say is the Affordable Care, not Affordable Care, the Affordable Connectivity Program, the ACP, offers a $30 per month subsidy from the state to anybody who qualifies. I don't remember what the guidelines are, but if you qualify for free or reduced lunch, you probably qualify for the ACP. That's $30 a month right up the top of your bill. So, there were definitely proposals. GWI sent a proposal that had really great community engagement and advisory committee, and their lowest tier cost was something like $35 a month less than Spectrum's lowest tier cost. But like I say, they needed 64% of the available grant money, and they weren't bringing as much to the table. Their weighted cost benefit was 5 times what the Charter was. So really, what happened is Charter brought a huge pile of chips to the table and made somebody else to play.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
And everything's gonna be fiber to the house.
Everything is in Brownfield, everything's brand new fiber built. In other places, Denmark, Freiburg, and Lovell, where they already have copper coax in place, those guys are stuck with the hybrid fiber and coax network for eternity, as far as we know.
What are they talking the speeds?
So all of this stuff is right out of the gate, it's gig capable. So bottom speed offered by Charter Spectrum is a 300 megabit per second symmetric speed. So those of us running Starlink rig, download speeds will be about twice as fast, upload speeds will be about 10 times as fast. That's on the lowest tier, and as of right now, Spectrum is saying that will cost a household $85 or $90 a month.
What are you talking for upload speed?
Upload speeds, they're symmetrical, it's download and upload, so 300, 300. There was a 500, 500, and there was a gig, and the gig one, there were a couple of options, one for business and one for personal use, but those are in excess of $160, $170 a month, so. Those are there, those are pricey, but you know, it is fiber, it's brand new fiber, they use. They use something called the EPON technology, which necessitates a couple of nodes in the field, one of which I presume would be in Brownfield, because the other towns are. You know, Stowe and Sweden, so we're way on this end of it. It would be a small building, they'll need to have a generator and a couple of other things that I assume Spectrum are gonna deal with, but. The important thing is that this is no cost to the town, I'm not asking you guys to allocate a cent.
Right.
This is all being covered presumably by grant money, we have to apply for and win, and Charter Spectrum is taking in the rest. We're gonna hang the guy from the poles. They're talking about, you know, if we get the grant award, they start building, they're saying 18 months to first lit customer, so. In my mind, you know, I know that they're already building out in Denmark level. And. Freiburg, and so I'm kind of like, where are they gonna get the labor to do all this? You know, or, you know, supply chain is a concern, we're told all the vendors are telling us, well, supply is better, but labor is a real problem, so.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is that all aerial? Or is it going in the ground?
I won't speak for every mile of it, my assumption is area,
Good.
you know. In the towns where they already exist, they've got space on the poles already. And so. That would be my suspicion, but that's because I think Charlie a very quick and dirty kind of. We'll get you what you need and we'll get it now. That was the other reason we went with them. The other guys, GWI and even. Vidium. We're talking about 2 years, 2.5 years to first lit customer, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wanted to wait for that. And when the cost is the same out of pocket of the town. You know, we recognize the cost of. Considerably more to the households, and that's. What I think just the game at this point, so
Would that be coverage for everybody?
that's 100% coverage, so what's going on in Denmark, Level, and in Freiburg. Charter has brought their list of proposed covered households to the table, and Eastern Slopes Regional Broadband, my group. Has kind of counter to that, done the surveys on every single house to make sure that we know. How many houses there are in the Freiburg, and sure enough, there were discrepancies between 90 some odd houses. That wouldn't have gotten covered if we weren't out there driving where the half the poles, so. You know, it takes that kind of work, we're not done yet. But once we've signed up with these guys, next step is apply for the grant, we get the grant, now we negotiate and get into contract with them and then. Begin to build.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for doing all this fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. This might be too much detail, but do you know the plans for the households? Is that unlimited data?
Well, so certainly, yeah, I've not heard of a land-based, you know, to the house thing that's gonna have. That's gonna have costs for data caps, now it is possible that Charter Spectrum has somewhere in the business to do it, I don't know. You know, it's also possible Charter Spectrum sells a year and a half, you know, to some bigger company. Those things are never etched in stone, you get the ball rolling and then you're at the mercy of who owns it. It was why I wanted to go with the municipally owned network to begin with, those kind of things. Once you're in business, they gotta have it on the poles. And see if they decide.
Thank you.
Thank you. Polly.
So I'm just here because I wanted to get, so as the representative for Brownfield of the Saco River Corridor Commission. In regards to, I just wanted to have like kind of on the record and publicly figured out what we're doing when the water tests come back with high levels of bacteria in the water. And which necessitates having, you know, posting the swim areas for like unsafe levels. So at this point, Willie and I get an email and then we're gonna add Dick to that, and I didn't know if we should add anyone else at the town level in order to update the website.
Should go to Alvina.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then I'll get your email address and then, so then Willie posts the beach for like no swimming. And then when we get the water test back that says the water's fine, he'll take those signs down. Dick and I communicated last week in regards to the speed at which our website is updated with alerts about the water being bad, and then alerts about it being like, yay, go back swimming. So what we decided to do is put a link on the town's website to the water test results on the Saco River Corridor Commission page. Because as soon as those results come back, they update the website so that anytime that anybody wants to know, is it good or is it not good, if you can hit that button, it'll go to the page on the website for the Saco River Corridor Commission, and that will be real-time information. So, that all sound good?
Perfect.
How often do they test?
They test, I think it's like twice a week during the swing season, you know, and then they stop like after swing season. And then if there is a bad test result that comes back, they go out and test every day they're in the office, which is Monday through Thursday, until it comes back clear. And it takes about 24 hours to get the next test result. So as soon as we know it's bad, they go out the next day. And then 24 hours after that, we know it has been adjusted. And we've only had one bad test this year, and that was recently. And then we only had one bad last year. So, I mean, Burnt Meadow, so I think that people get like, oh my God, there's so much rain and there's so much runoff, there's gotta be something wrong. But they're great about doing the testing. And then the information is updated right away. And then Willie puts the signs up and takes them down. So we have a. So, yes.
How is it possible for one side of Burnt Meadow to be clear and the other not? Or is it-
Sure. Sure. You know, I mean, we're testing at the beach, and then we test at Woodland Pines as well, because that's public access there. So all of that information is available on the website. Yeah.
I got a question about Burnt Meadow Colin. I thought she asked it, but we got 2 swimming areas.
So they test at the beach, at the pub where the swimming lessons
They
are.
don't test at the boat landing.
No, but I'm sure if you guys wanted to like pony up for those tests, I'm sure they'd be happy to add
Well,
that in.
what my question was, the difference between, you know, the quality of water from one end to the other,
Yeah,
because that's the outlet, the boat landing is on the inlet, so
Mhm.
it could be a difference.
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a reason they test there because it's more frequently, I'm sure it's more frequently used for swim lessons for children and aunties and grandmas and dogs.
There was a sign at the boat landing.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, there was a sign at the boat landing and a sign at the beach.
So Willie were they both
Yeah.
like bright orange?
Yeah, the yellow one.
Oh, okay, so then he must have put
Yeah.
one at each location. Yeah,
Well, they're both public beaches, they're,
Right,
yeah,
you know, they're.
Right.
Okay, got it posted.
okay.
but there was one right before the boat landing. And another one at the beach area, yeah.
Human waste would be a contributing factor. Is there a public facility there?
There's porta potty, there's no bathhouse.
Okay.
Is there a porta potty at both locations or just the?
Usually.
Yeah, it used to be.
It goes right down to the beach where there's swimming, the other smoke. We always did pass on, so,
It's not one by the beach, the,
Yeah, there
it
is.
should be,
both of them.
yeah,
Oh,
always was.
How often are those empty? And don't they?
Every week.
Great, even better.
Yeah. All right. Kristen,
Have something to pass out to everyone. People can click on. Great. Okay, open that wide. Yes, and if not, maybe we can share. Here we go. To the Selectmen.
thank you. Thanks, Kristen.
Yeah.
We're gonna let people read this, and we're gonna let people read this, and we'll just take Willie for a second, and then we'll go back to this.
Okay.
All right? Good. Willie, department head.
Well, thank you. Sorry I rushed in late coming back from did a double header ball game tonight, so nice. Update with the rec. Swim lessons will be ending this Wednesday. We've had quite the season, with all the rain and everything. The girls survived it pretty well. We only had 2 makeup days. So that went pretty well. We have 2 weeks left of the junior guy program. We have the game warden coming this Thursday with his K9. They're gonna do a demonstration. And then next week we'll round off the program. Upcoming events, of course, we have Brownfield Days, August 12th. We're going to have a community day on August 9th/10th. We'll have our final Brownfield Days meeting on the 9th. That same night, we'll have a rec float out here for anyone who wants to help decorate. Also, we'll be making banners and signs for the Sea Dog strip. We're going Thursday the 10th. We're doing a day trip to the Sea Dogs. So kids are free, adults are $10, and that's a day game. It's a noontime game on Thursday the 10th. We went last year, and I think we had 27 participants. So we ordered 40 tickets. So hopefully we'll fulfill those 40 tickets. As far as Brownfield Days goes, we are working on selling the rest of the couch at bingo. I know some of you have already bought tickets. There's tickets available at the town office, or you can come see me and buy tickets. They're $10 a piece. Megan's gonna bring her cows over, and we'll paint off the squares for that Saturday, the 12th, 9 to 4. Anyone that hasn't got signed up for Brownfield Days, we will still accept your applications, but today was the deadline for vendors and parade participants, so we can get everything organized in the next 2 weeks. Besides that, we've got soccer sign up starting next week, and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife is coming on August 17th. They're going to rent a room next door. They're gonna do a beaver deceiver course, and they're gonna have some public works people involved. They're gonna have different departments from the town, the state of Maine, and then after they do their class, they're gonna go down to the Brownfield bog and do a demonstration on how to move beavers from. It's basically so, for culverts and for disruptive beavers and bogs and ponds. So we got them coming in a couple weeks too. So that's a roundup, but August 9th, we'll have a Brownfield Days meeting that night. We'll have the float decorations that night. And if anyone's going to the Sea Dogs game the next day, they can show up and make flags and banners, and there's a bunch of details about that on the website as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, thank you.
Now we'll go back to Kristen.
Good evening. I'm gonna scoot over here just so I don't have my back to anybody. That's okay. Well, you're gonna have to excuse me. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to public speaking like this. This is a really important subject. It's a safety issue that we have going on Dudley Road in Brownfield regarding ATV traffic, ATV speed. I'm standing before you. There's residents from Dudley here. We're asking you to revoke the Denmark ATV Club's access trails and their access to our road. And this is based on the fact that it's been 5 years of watching dangerous speeding levels going down our roads. Very dangerous. Many of us have had close calls with ATVs. And also, anytime we call, we cannot get the help. There is no, we get circled around if you contact the ATV club. They send you to the police. You know, you call the warden, you call the police can't enforce it because they're already long gone. It's been 5 years, we really need help, we need someone to step in. When this was put into place, I don't think that the intent was that Brownfield would be a recreational trail. The signs, that is what they're telling. They're using trail signs. I've included attachments here. It shows what the different signs mean. Our road is being marked as a trail. The other roads in town are. Main Street is being marked as a trail. I spoke with the DOT today. They called the ATV club on Friday, asking them to remove their signs from Main Street and all of 160. It's not legal for them to be using Main Street or 160. They never got a permit and they've been doing it anyway. So, and I really want to contrast this kind of lack of respect with the snowmobile club, the Stone Mountain Arts Center. We shouldn't have to call the police to have people respect each other in the community. We all live together. We're all friends. We're neighbors. We're family members. We're, you know, it's stronger than anything else. I don't want to have to call the police, and no one else does, every week. The snowmobile club, they have access to our land. They leave the trails pristine, like there's no issue, like you won't see a speck of anything. Dugway has an increased amount of litter. Like I said, there's crazy speeding. It is so dangerous. This is a safety issue. It's being treated as a recreational trail. And again, I want to mention Stone Mountain Arts Center. Out of respect for the residents, they send all of their guests down the paved roads, not down Dugway, like a heavy flow of traffic down a road that was not meant to have this. Please, please, what we're asking is some help, some intervention, a safety plan, and other roads in the town are being treated as trails too. So again, like I included the ATV laws, and on page 11, section H, it has an ATV may be operated on the extreme right of a public way if they're directed by the appropriate governmental unit within the public way. An ATV must travel in the same direction as motor vehicle traffic on a public way designated as an ATV access route, not a trail. A public way designated by appropriate governmental unit as an ATV access route must be posted conspicuously at regular intervals as an access route. And also, it has to have wide enough sides so the ATVs can travel and traffic can flow both ways. A lot of roads in Brownfield are not made for that. And again, we're being treated as a recreational trail. We are not. We're a neighborhood. We have children. The residents weren't asked if this was okay. So what we're asking is that the Denmark ATV Club be revoked access from Dugway Road, that their signs be taken down, that they be notified, that we be notified that this has happened. Also, that they be required to take their signs down on 160. It's been days since the state of Maine has asked me to do it and they haven't done it. Like, what's it gonna take? Is it gonna take an accident on Sunday? I shared the road with a 6-year-old on an ATV, and I'm gonna show you the picture on Dugway. Tiny, teeny little munchkin on Dugway. Oh, thank you. And that's probably a 9-year-old driving a side-by-side in a train. It was 3 dirt bikes. He was leading. These are children. I'm sharing the road with children like this. What is it gonna take Do we wait for an accident? Do we wait till someone gets hurt? Like a little munchkin gets hurt? We, like, we need to make an enforceable safety plan. Maybe our, the town lawyer can help us. Is the town prepared to deal with the liabilities of what could happen if we don't even look at this? And also the horrible knowledge that we didn't act. And again, the ATV club has not treated us like Snowmobile Club has, like Stone Mountain Arc Center has. We shouldn't be pushed to this. So we're asking to remove access from our road. It can't handle it. We want the ATV club notified, and we would like a sign that says no through traffic, or no trail access, something like that. That people are not getting directed down our road. The ATV club is 500 and growing. That's too much for our little dirt road. Even on Sunday, as I worked on this letter for the 20th hour, within an hour, 3 convoys of 5, blazed 5. I know at the end of Dugway, before Stone Mountain Art Center, there was a third of the road had been washed out. Even when on the hot top, the road had dropped down like this, people were still riding ATVs. It's showing poor decision making. And I feel like for safety of the residents, we need to step in and do something, but definitely not on our road is the trial road.
We'll look into it and see how it was opened and just what things have to be. Lauren?
We've notified the state, because we put the request in. On 26/16. Ryan Bronson told us that we're good to go on 160. We just contacted him a month ago, find out how come we haven't heard from the state yet. He just found the paperwork, he just resubmitted it. For 160.
Okay.
So when Bob gets back from his vacation this week, I'll have him touch bases again with Brian and find out where we're at with that.
You have a copy of this letter?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And I think we should give a copy to the sheriff's department.
Yeah,
To get the other side of the story.
Yeah, and it was, we looked it up and there was only 6 complaints all of last year.
yeah, we've only got 25 members in the club.
So can you, come over to Dugway Road on the weekend and take a look at what's going on?
I have.
Well,
I said that.
It's
yeah.
ridiculous, it's.
Let's be orderly with it. We're just gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna look into it and see what it is and see how it works out.
Is Dugway the only problem road at this point, or?
Yeah, it is, but I know.
Yeah. Bruce?
Yeah, Dugway's not the only road where I'm concerned, because I live on the other side of 113, and they go right down that road to Depot Street, and then they go down the road, Misty Lane, and then they go down the Indian Trail and just spin around and around and around in the road that was just fixed.
Yeah, see that's where the sheriff comes in, because our trail, you can't police it.
I know.
We do the best we can. I just yelled at some yahoos last night.
You're always gonna have yahoos, I know that.
Yeah, well,
The whole problem is the enforcement. Right, you can create all the ordinances you want to.
Yeah,
The sheriff will say, we do not enforce Brownfield ordinance.
Right.
So it's a catch-22 is what you're in.
yeah, cause what I understand from the sheriff, I mean, from Augusta, that the sheriff has to be involved. You know, they're in charge of the speed.
But they do not enforce our ordinances, and that's what
I'd like
I'm
to
saying.
say
You can print everything you want, but
Right.
they aren't
Yeah.
enforcing our ordinance.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Frank, you got something to say?
No, it's all right.
All right, Vinnie?
What's that, yeah, boy? But
This is an important subject, and I think anyone that wants to be heard should be heard.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
I do want to say something.
please.
Orderly is what we want, orderly.
I
This was
understand.
back a
sir.
little while ago
One
when
thing,
I
one thing
was the public works director, there was a young person up there on a four-wheeler. Kind of doing what she said, you know, spinning around raising the devil. And I cut him off and stopped him, talked to him, and I never had a problem with that kid again. That's what it takes. We gotta talk to these people because I'm telling you, it's just a few people that's messing it up for all of us. And that's not good.
So Frank, I've road rage a couple times this, last summer and this summer, and at 61 years old, I don't wanna have to, throw down with someone in a situation like that, so. I would say that a large percentage of the people on ATVs are abiding laws, but there are people, like, you tell them to slow down as they go past your house. And they wave at you and they get past your house and they gun it, you go down the road afterwards and you can see where they've done 360. So there's a few people that are ruining it for everyone else, so how do we prevent that from happening? I have a dog and, you know, my dog stays in my yard for the most part, but when I have KTMs and side by sides going past my house at 60, you know, coming around that corner. Like, all seriousness, you know, they come around Billy Brook and they go up that hill between 40 and 60 miles an hour, so.
Sure.
My biggest concern, and I think folks are right that the majority of people are okay, they're respectful. Their signs actually say respect it or lose it. Maybe we're at a point where they haven't respected it, they need to lose it. But my biggest concern really is the safety issue. And I have had two near misses going up the Dugway Hill where it goes back and forth with kids coming downhill on ATVs, taking the turn too wide and too fast. They came within inches of my car. I could have swerved off the road, but there's nothing to swerve off to. But I could even see the expression on the kid's face that he knew he was within inches of colliding. My concern was that that child would have been killed.
Yep.
As a young kid, I'm in a big car. My car is going to be fine. So who's going to be responsible for that? I don't want to live with taking someone's life because it's a dangerous situation.
Right.
And it happened twice, with an adult as well. Going too fast, going up the hill on the turns, swerving in front of me, someone's gonna get seriously hurt.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the problem, like any small town, is like on the weekend, you have a lot of people from away that show up.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be here for one weekend and they're gonna have fun and, you know, because one day I was at the store out here gassing up and then loaded two of the side by sides out there. And what were they doing out there in that sand pit? Just doing cookies right around and around. I said, well, that's really nice. You guys show up here and that's what you do, you know? I think you probably find that most of the local people are not doing the stuff that's causing the problem.
Yeah, and I know of a group that came up from Conway, from Profile Motors.
Yeah.
And they just ripped up everything they could rip up and that's not right. Cause the local people do have, most of them do respect everybody and they just putt along and, but we really have to, we'll look into it and see what we can do.
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm on the other end of Dugway. And the problem isn't as bad. You know, most people go by slowly and everything, but there's more signage. And also the fact that Stone Mountain is there and they know there's more traffic. And they see cars parked there. So I don't know if there's something that can be done on where the problems are. So that people would slow down. I don't know if I hate to see speed bumps come on the Dugway. But everybody covered beats. But you know, most of the ATVs are polite, they wave.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get an overloaded testosterone kid going by.
Yeah.
Could have been me, you know, but you know, it's yeah, but they need more protection down the other end of Dugway, obviously.
Yeah, John.
One of the big things I'm hearing here, 7 calls for the entire town last year's sheriff's department. You need to call the sheriff. If you have to call them every day, you need to inundate them.
By the time they get there, the people are gone and.
But it gives them-
These don't have license plates, so how do you write, if you have a near.
Well, they do have a number on them,
They,
Where?
which is pretty good size.
they're not gonna catch that one person, but it documents that there's a problem to where they'll start patrolling it more often.
Right.
To where they're there and the ATVs don't know they're there. They don't know there's a problem, 7 calls in the entire town, they don't know there's a problem up there.
I just have a question, I don't know. Is there like a law that like you have to be 16 with a license to drive an ATV?
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's gonna be 16.
it's parents' fault.
Send out notices saying like, just so you know, these are the laws. You can't be having your kids underage driving these ATVs.
I think it's right in the
Just like a.
It's in the law book, but they don't, the
Yeah,
parents,
let's-
it's up to the parents, and the parents
I
aren't
was
taking
just
care
gonna
of it.
say, most of this all stems from parenting.
Yeah,
If they just letting them go with no supervision, then
But if the sheriff department gets 10 calls a day, they're gonna see that there's a problem, they're gonna start patrolling, then it gives you. And if they see a little kid like that driving that side by side, they're gonna nail
I called 911 last, when I saw it, they didn't even call me back. And I myself definitely called the sheriff's department at least 7 times last year, so I don't think that they're reporting all the calls. And I know other people have too, I think this is beyond trying to work it out on Jugway. It's beyond it. Why is the Denmark ATV Club controlling Brownfield? Why would they get access to our road when they have not respected it? It's dangerous, it's not being managed, and it's not enforceable.
Yeah.
We need
Okay.
help.
good.
Okay, thank you. 2 or 3 points. This is gonna be reiteration, but it's gonna support what has been said already. I'm gonna start with the gentleman in the back. What he discovered. If we know where and the weekends is primarily the thick of it. To anticipate some of this. And maybe report it more with that extra heavy action. Going back to the gentleman about the road rage. It was either last week or the week before on a Sunday coming home from work. I was behind 4 or 5. And I stayed at a good distance, a safe distance, but they had no clue that I was there and they were driving in the road and they impeded my progress. That's not right. Now, I didn't get the rage. But the safety issue. All you gotta do is look at that picture. That's it, okay?
Yep.
That, the road is not wide enough to accommodate that kind of vehicle along with the regular flow of traffic. Not that it's heavy, but it's only gonna take one time.
Yeah.
And this lady showed me that picture and it just sent chills up my spine.
Yeah.
And the other, I just have one question. Who is the DOT contact that you referred to?
I talked to, oh, you're talking first.
Yeah.
Well, anybody,
You know, that guy was,
okay,
he's out of a Scarborough.
Well,
Everything's out of Augusta now. That's
Oh,
Scarborough.
okay, isn't it?
Yeah,
Kristen,
no, I talked to
Thank
Mr.
you.
Land. And he confirmed.
we're gonna do this quarterly as people raise their hands.
Yeah. I was born and raised in this town. I've lived on Delcoy since 1999. I know you're trying to do math in your head. So I've seen pretty much everything because we actually ran power to our place. That's how remote it was. And I can say, I love our neighborhood. I live on the other end of Mr. Linavera. I live on the hard end, on the steep end. I really haven't had too much of an issue. We did have one big car to say go by. We motioned for them to slow down. The gentleman actually stopped and apologized and made sure everybody behind him went very slow. So I do think, yeah, there might be a few bad ones, but I don't think everybody should lose that, right? And let's face it, the road isn't great anyways. We're going to bring a school bus up there. If anything, it is made for ATVs. And then I've seen everything from drug runs up there. I think this is the least of the matter at this point.
Cindy?
it's not safe.
Have people from town sit down and talk with Oakland County to see what they could do? Have we done that?
I asked the game warden to go up and sit there on a Sunday and they came back a couple weeks later and said they sat there for a couple hours each time, but nothing happened. Right? It's only, if you're only, you can get them when they're there.
Yeah, I'm just like, with that, when we have to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, I mean, put cameras up so we can get these guys who are doing it.
They could try that, I suppose.
Yeah.
This is today's Conway Daily Sun that a man in New Hampshire died on an ATV. And then further in the article, it mentions 2 teenagers who were in an accident. So I mean, I don't wanna be the person, like Terry said, I don't wanna be the person who has that on my conscience that some kid rode out in front of me and that I killed them.
Mhm.
And I don't think anybody in here wants that either, so it needs to stop.
Chrissy?
I just wanna say that I don't think it should be left to us to have to battle it out. ATVs. Are you suggesting that I, with my baby, talk to a train of ATVs and say, slow down, and then what if they turn on me? Or what if, I mean, or what if I get hurt trying to stop them? Why are we being put in the place of the position to have to physically enforce this? Like, am I really able to do that? And I don't think this is a laughing matter. This is not funny. I just don't think that that's a fair position, and we are backed into a corner because we keep getting circled around to the sheriff, and it's not enough. Like, we need to look at the safety requirements in state. Why don't we follow those to keep people safe? Why don't we have a right? It's not a basic right, safety.
I just want to say that I think that Dugway Road, I have lived on it since 1972. I've lived in Brownfield all my life. And I have not seen a problem. I have not heard a problem in excess. I mean, yes, there is the one once in a while that goes by, or the one group once in a while. But I think that's part of being in society. You know, you do be careful, you do tolerate things to some extent. I mean, we have vehicles that drive up that road way too fast. I myself have on occasion. I try to remember because I don't drive generally for a reason. Seriously though, I just think that we need to realize that it's not a me world. COVID made this all about me. And we have to stop thinking that way. We have to start realizing that this is a life for everybody. And we have to take care of everybody, each other. And I'm not saying that Kristen's wrong. I'm not saying that anyone is wrong. But I think there's got to be some kind of solution that can fix it.
I just want to say that you're a licensed driver, an adult, and everyone driving a car down the road, hopefully, is a licensed driver. ATVs are often driven by teenagers and kids, and they don't have the judgment that an adult has. At least we hope the adults have it. They have no license. There's just no way. I've never once called the sheriff because it would do me no good because they're long gone by the time I get the sheriff on the phone. So of the 20 instances I've seen this year, I've never called once, but I guess what John is saying, we should keep calling.
Yeah, and one with a picture is our license number on it.
I don't think they have a license.
They do, they have a sticker. They have sticker numbers.
Okay.
So what if we just call the game wardens and see if every weekend they come up there and sit? That seems like a solution. The people. I know what else can we do is people still speed on 113. There's still people speed. So I think people would get mad, they get ticketed. The game warden sat up there on the weekend, I think. Or one of their members from the ATV club would sit up there. No, that seems like a solution. You can complain all we want, but we need a solution. So I think either a game warden or someone from their ATV group?
They're short.
Definitely.
My solution is, that club went up there without anybody knowing or talking about it or anything, it just happened. And I know there was a lot of problems when they were on, what's that road, that River Road down.
Shepherd Road?
Shepherd Road. Right. And I moved on Dudley Road in 2009, and I love it there. I am so happy. I just tell my husband, I love it here. I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. But anyways, beyond that, my quality of life, his quality of life has changed, not drastic. And I don't have kids, so I'm not, I don't have that issue going on like Kristen and some other people. But for some reason where I live, even though there's, plenty of trees and we set back, it's like I hear everything. I can hear, I bet, almost a mile down the road, who's speeding, who's gunning it, what kind of engines are coming down the road, and I know it's a lot of fun, and so on. I have my own UTV, and I enjoy driving that road. I don't abuse it, I enjoy it. But quality of life has changed, and my suggestion is that they shouldn't be coming up that road. It wasn't like that before. Things have changed. I remember seeing the first, double ATVs or where they are, and thinking, oh, those people look so happy. They look like they're having a blast. And I was happy for them. But now it's just, constant at some periods of time. And it's sometimes I try to run out and tell people to slow down, and I'm not fast enough.
Yeah.
But I just believe that they should not be up there, and it should be as it was before, with people in the neighborhood who respect each other, people in the surrounding area, and not take away their rights either. It's my opinion.
They closed Shepherd River Road down for the ATVs. They still come down that road.
Oh, yeah.
That hasn't stopped. So taking away the rights of the Denmark Association Trail, the club, it's not gonna stop them. It's not gonna stop the out of towners that come in on the weekends to do their thing. We need a better solution than just punishing people.
Enforcement's gonna be the big deal in education. Those are the two things that need to happen. No matter how it goes, and that's what I think.
Somehow we're gonna do enforcement because they still do it on Shepherd River Road.
Yeah.
And I see them come out through the road and do a cookie right on 113 and head back up. Well, you don't think that's dangerous?
Or somebody lives there. All right.
If you look at the website, they advertise, you can download or you can get people ask all the time, that's a common question for the trail system, okay? We're on the trail system, and I wish we were not on the trail system. This just happened, everything changed, and so now it's, everybody knows, anybody who looks into it, it's like an advertisement.
One thing you're gonna have to understand, if you shut it down, okay? All your neighbors that have side by side, not gonna be able to go either.
Why can't it be back to what it was?
Then anybody can go when they want, it's just not a trail.
No, because they have to have certain access on certain roads that are marked like our road now. It wasn't like that before. They can't just.
You're gonna talk to a couple towns that do have, have ATVs and run roads and see what their problems are and what they have to go with it. I mean, we need to definitely talk to the game wardens. Willie's gone. I was gonna see if Willie would do a ATV safety course.
I'm gonna do one next year.
I am?
Yes.
Okay, Kristen?
Anything offered by the Denmark ATV Club at this point is illegal. They have illegal signs on Main Street. 160 is illegal. They have signs. That's how much they're considerate of our area. Revoking access, even just the concept of what they're gonna do. They've had 5 years. It's been 5 years of speeding, danger, disrespect, illegal. That's enough. They've had 5 years.
Yeah.
No more.
Bruce?
I'm just afraid that the people will get a false sense of security. Because the only person that can, enforce our ordinance is that man right there, Mike. And he'll be running steady in the place trying to catch somebody, and I don't think he really wants to do that. Like I said, I think he's gonna create a false sense of security by doing, ordinance. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay. All right, we, Ben.
Last thing, and then I'll leave. I just wanted to say, our website's down. We do not have anything on that. I have a Facebook page, and that's it. The map's been taken down that day that we had all that trouble.
Okay.
We do not, make it knowledgeable, because we don't want people coming in. We try to keep it just for the locals, and locals only.
Okay.
You know, we gotta get the grant money, so we can't really do, shut everything down, but.
We're definitely gonna look into it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Linavera.
Yes. Yeah, just I would like to petition the selectmen as a budget committee chairman, that I think we should be on the list to have access to the MMA for legal advice, not representation. We're not gonna go to court, but just legal advice. You know, when we have a question, I've tried to call in the past and talk to things, and then we hit the wall, you know, they tell us we're not on the list. So I'd like to be put on the list, as chairman, not me, but the chairman of the budget committee. And the other thing is on streetlights. I'd just like to know if there's a way to, see if you get from CMP a list of where the streetlights are and what poles. And just in case some of them are not really illuminating the roadway, but probably driveway. So, yeah, I don't know if Wanda, if I could get you have a list, or you wouldn't have a list of the poles.
Well,
But
on
would
the
you
bill
contact
has
the
each light, doesn't it? Yeah, they're on the bill, they have each
Yeah.
individual light.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a $10,000 budget, which isn't much, but it's still another thing. So that's basically it. Yeah, anybody want to comment?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do.
If you got a concern, then get a poll number and bring.
Well, but it might be a concern that only I see, but there might be others out there I don't know about. That's why I'm saying, if I get a list of them, I'll ride around and look. Well, not that I want to be a snitch, but just to say the town is saving money, basically. Thank you.
Sure. Can I step in on before this one?
Sure.
Will you two allow me to read the articles of response we got from Bernstein and MMA on Article 6 and 7?
It's up to you.
Fine with me. Should be public knowledge. Okay, the select board asked MMA and Bernstein Shore about the legalities of Article 6 and 7. And we got the responses. From MMA on Article 6 and 7. I think the amendments to Article 6 and 7 are problematic and could possibly be argued as impermissible. First, it may be possible to argue that the amendments are outside the scope of the articles in the warrant, and if they are out of order, the articles fail. Second, the amendments creating an elected hiring committee are legally questionable. For example, one problem with having an elected board make the appointment or creating an elected hiring committee are legally questionable. For example, one problem with having an elected board make the appointment is that it is not clear whether the select board or hiring committee has authority to oversee the appointed officers' performance or authority to discipline or remove the person from office. In my opinion, it would probably be best for the select board to call another town meeting to have the town's legislative body revote these articles. I would also suggest that the new article proposed to the voters ask the town to create an advisory hiring committee that is appointed by the select board. And, to sum it up from Bernstein Shore,
I'm happy to give it out loud, or you can read, it's up to you.
Yeah, let's hear it from the attorney.
in the summary, the board has has to respect the articles as passed, but because the amendments are so different from the original language that they risk being legally defective, and the best way to eliminate that defect is to revote the original language without amendments. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to put Article 6 to 7 as originally written on the
Referendum,
the what?
referendum.
Referendum for November.
Aaron?
Is there a case study or is there a reference, state legislature, I mean, state court system where these articles have been challenged and would be considered legally not valid?
I'm happy to address that if you want.
Go ahead.
So the issue with amendments on the floor that add a lot of substance or change sort of the basic substance of the original question is, if you get too far from the original substance of the question, you've invalidated the articles, like MMA's advice, in our opinion, say. I don't know that like this specific question has ever come up before, but this issue about amendments getting too far from the original language of the article, that has happened before, that's been litigated before. And that's why I think MMA and we take the position that there's a lot of risk there that the articles are invalid. I can't tell the select board with 100% certainty that the amendments invalidated the original articles, but it's my legal opinion that they did. To test that sort of theory, you'd have to go through the court system and all that. The simplest approach, the approach that sort of resolves all doubt, is revoting the articles. And the articles can be worded however the select board wants to put it on the warrant. That's not up to me. But the answer to your question about has this language ever been litigated before? I doubt it, but this issue has been litigated before, and that's why our concern, MMA and we share the same concern, which is I think the amendments strayed far enough from the articles that there's a real risk that they were invalid. Steve?
Yeah, can you, it's been a while, can you refresh my memory what Article 6 and 7 is?
To make the clerk and the treasurer appointed, not elected. Holly?
So then would the language on that referendum be the language of the amended, the one that we voted to adopt? Is that the language that the select board would put on the referendum? Or would it be the original that we decided to change?
The original.
I feel that would be in conflict with the direction of the townspeople. Yep. Because we voted.
Definitely can look into it.
I make the motion as originally written to put on the November referendum.
Harry comes first, Joe. Great, now you can pass it in.
You see what's on the agenda,
Yeah.
so you should be able to speak to it.
Forget about me?
No.
Interesting conversation. And the response that, I have a couple of things, of course, and it was that we make sure that the people who are who want to run, to be on the hiring committee, that they be on the November referendum. And last time when we spoke here, that was the plan, to have that on. Now, I know that you questioned the attorney about it, and the attorney hasn't said that it is illegal. It just says that it could be litigated, and anything can be litigated. So, but rather than, belabor this in a sense, the people in the town voted for 2 articles as amended. And, whether or not it goes beyond that, it's debatable. Should go to court. No telling what a judge will say. I think that we should stick with the articles the way they were approved with the amendments by the townspeople, because the townspeople govern the town. It's a beautiful thing. My only, to make sure that this doesn't get lost in the mix, and however it ends up on the November referendum, you know, come next June, we have to have a treasurer, and we have to have a town clerk in place. That would mean that if the articles get, are approved for that, for the, treasurer and for the town clerk to be appointed, then what are we gonna do as far as deciding how that's done? Now, we can say that, you know, like, well, yes, kind of typically it's up to the select board. Townspeople wanted to have residents and select board members on it, so they could get together and they could talk about this. No telling who the 4 people could be. They may have the same views as the select board, they may have opposite views as the select board. But my concern is that whether or not, as John was getting ready to make a motion, that the 2 articles get put back on me, is that if it's because, Zach, because it kind of, the amendments go beyond the intent of the article, would be to have those 2 original articles on there, that the treasurer is appointed and that the town clerk is appointed, and then to have 2 more articles. The townspeople want to have a hiring committee that would consist of the way it was written, and have that on there also. That would seem fair, because and Zach, I'm assuming you wrote what John was reading?
This second email, yes.
So, I would assume that that would resolve that matter, that it's going too far beyond those 2 articles.
You know, you mentioned having the articles go to referendum, which include the hiring of people who are gonna appoint. But I mean, Joe mentioned that the hiring should be on there too. But if those amendments, I don't see how you could have the hiring on there at the same time without first approving the fact that there will be people being hired to do the appointing. And the other thing is, I think if there's a special town meeting in the interim before November, maybe you should put the articles again at a special town meeting if there's one coming up, or maybe a special town meeting. Because if it was voted on by the community vocally at the town meeting, then that should be the way it should be again.
Yes, we'll definitely, we're gonna discuss it with them.
Yeah, no, just
suggestions.
So the other thing that can be done is just leave it the way it is. Because the only way this is going to be contested is if somebody takes it to court. And if nobody wants to take it to court, it's gonna stay the way the people voted for it back in June with the amendments. So, I mean, I don't know, this would seem kind of, I don't know, a little out of step, but if we want it that way, if the townspeople want it that way, but the select board wants to take it to court, you know, I don't know how that works out.
If the articles passed to be appointed, then from there you could petition amendments.
No.
Yeah, so I was at town meeting and there was a small, group of people there that were in favor. Yes, I will say that. But a referendum, and that's why I thought it was gonna go to referendum to begin with, because there's way more voters that vote during a referendum than there is at town meeting. And that gives you a bigger variety of the real choice they want. And as far as putting it on a special town meeting, a special town meeting doesn't generate as nearly as much turnout as a regular meeting. So I would be in favor of anything you do go to referendum in November, where all the voters are congregated at once.
I don't let me speak.
Not too special.
Okay.
What I find interesting is that for years at annual town meeting, we typically amend articles. We've never in the past had any issues with amended articles. Once the people have made their mind to amend an article, it's stay that way.
It's always been that way. It's never come up ever again. I can go back through to the early 1900s in books I have at home. What I do find interesting is that from the get-go, there's been members on the select board, or at least one member, that has been extremely against changing elected positions to appointed positions because they feel that the right should not be taken away from the people. So I feel like this is a very biased position to get the articles changed to the way they would like it to have gone instead of the way that it went.
Yeah, I just want to say that we have had moderators in the past that have said that's not a proper amendment to an article, and that's been shot down. This gentleman evidently did not catch it.
Yes, I had, and this is a question to the lawyer. Can the select board do away with an elected position without a public hearing?
I don't believe so, do you?
I'm happy to answer that.
Answer it, go ahead.
So if in your ordinance or charter, and this is true for any town. Yeah, I'm just saying for any town, either charter or ordinance, if either of those two things require that a position be elected, then it does have to go to town meeting vote to change the process.
That wasn't my question. Do they require a public hearing?
Yeah, so usually an ordinance change or a charter change certainly does require a public hearing prior to putting it on town meeting. I just want to, if I may, just one other thing. Regardless of whatever the outcome is, the importance of getting the process right, or at least you know, there was a question raised about, okay, well, this would have to go to litigation and the court would have to decide that the change was invalid. That may be true in the final analysis, but the danger in not getting the process sort of more right, or close to right, is that you have to take action on process that may be faulty, and then you get down the road and you've got a treasurer or some kind of municipal official who's taking action, and the original process was flawed in some way, and the sort of results of that that ripples out, right? And so again, regardless of whatever the outcome is, you know, you go to town meeting, you want to make sure that any amendments to articles on the floor or stay within the confines of the original article, because that defends whatever the result is, so that you don't later end up in a position where there's questions about, you know, did we follow the right process? Is this person taking action that is actually authorized and permissible? Because that opens a can of worms that, like, you just usually don't want to get into.
Well, isn't that what a public hearing is supposed to do, to address the fact before it's voted on?
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of the public hearing is just to, yeah, provide folks an opportunity to have a discussion and. Oh.
Thank you. So according to the letter that John wrote in the paper and had published, he felt one way about having the position of the two positions in question be elected rather than appointed. And so we know what John's view is on that, and I'm wondering if you other gentlemen would be willing to share what you, when you are having your discussions about whether these positions should be elected or appointed by the selectmen. Can I ask what your thoughts are on that topic?
I gotta say something about that. Me in my first year, I didn't have any input on what was put in the town warrant last town meeting. Just so you know. So if you wanna know my opinion of it, I personally think that it should be changed because there's things going on that the selectmen can't have no control of. And I know it's gonna cause some enemies on my part, but that's fine. I think that this town office needs to all work together. That is a really major problem in this town. And I don't know if that would solve the problems or not, but. We gotta try to do something.
My opinion doesn't really matter. I can have my opinion and it doesn't matter and people aren't gonna listen. But I have to follow the vote of the majority. When legally possible. And this is where we're at, legally possible.
So the majority voted to amend the article with the language and your suggestion that you should just vote to push it through the way that it was written originally is in conflict with the will of the people.
Because it's not legally,
I don't think that's what he's saying.
it's legally questionable.
Who came up with that idea? Who originally forwarded that to MMA or Bernstein Share?
That would be me. I questioned it, the article, whether it was right or not. I sent it to MMA, they sent it back. Then we sent it on to Zach. So I will take the blame with their blessings, because the selectmen not trying, but.
So just to circle back, what is your, and then apparently Alvina's opinion is important here too, because she's directing things to happen on behalf of the board or the select board or the townspeople or just on her own.
She asked us before she done it, and we agreed.
Okay, so can you tell me
Yeah.
what your.
No, the only issue that I have with it, if, with it being elected, is that if somebody is sick and out for 2 or 3 months, you can't replace them. So what do? The town office is closed. And that's the only issue I have. If there was a way to do that you could hire an interim person, there's no budget for that. So, do we make a budget for that? I don't know. But that's the only reason that I had interest, because the town office was closed so much, that everybody was complaining about it. So how do you do it? You bring it to the people, see what you wanna do. Terry?
My concern is that, John, you're making a motion to put articles on the referendum as they were originally written. So you're ignoring the will of the people who voted at town meeting, because you're ignoring the amendments that the town voted on. If anything, if you want them voted on again, the amendments should also be voted on as separate articles, so the people of the town have a voice in what those amendments.
The amendment's gotta be rewritten.
Whatever, or the articles could be rewritten, so it's all written legally, it's all one thing that people vote on, it's not an amendment. But you can't just extract what you don't like and move it forward to make it what you want.
Right, Bruce?
Well, it all comes back in the public hearing. We wouldn't even be talking about this right now if there was a public hearing prior to, but the public hearing is where legal matters are addressed. It's like the cat was put before the horse. And the other thing is, if it was put out to referendum, it could not have been amended.
That's my point, is that when things are on a referendum vote, there's no discussion. We don't get a chance to discuss it as a group if it's on a referendum.
We do have a hearing, the discussion.
To those.
Who comes to the town meeting compared to the amount of people?
The amount of people we have.
The people that voted on town meeting weren't even a third of the people. There's still 2/3 people out there that didn't speak.
They had their chance. They come.
All right.
Yeah, I would just like to say that Alvina shouldn't be blamed for looking into something with MMA. If she's got a question, especially where it involves the town and the office, I mean, she should be encouraged to do that no matter what. Because she's the administrative assistant for the town. To me, it's getting a little too personal. The discussion is about MMA. Definitely defined that there might be a problem. The town lawyer said it's a possibility with the litigation. So that's where we should be focused on, not who said what, and when. Right now, it's all about, we're at a position where MMA says this is where it stands, and this is our opinion. And that's what we bring it to the lawyer for. And we can do whatever we want and talk about whatever we want, but it's gonna go through litigation.
We're just trying to fix it.
I mean, it is a problem that's been identified by a legal source.
Thanks, but don't
I
ignore it.
got a question. So we voted at a town, whoever voted for that, I don't know, guess, no, whatever, we voted one way. So don't we have to vote that down to put it on a referendum? No, okay, I didn't know, as I said, there's no stupid question.
Right.
There's no stupid question.
In the whole process, we go to the November referendum. If they pass to be appointed, then discussion can come up to petition the amendment, which would be hearing, and we could run the amendments through the attorney to make sure it's legal to how it's worded to what you want. That's
Didn't know.
That's the process.
That's why I asked.
That's the process.
Right. Right.
With your attorney and then put that on the referendum.
I would suggest where we have, you know. If the articles are in question, if we put them back on the referendum, the way the articles originally was written. And have a separate article for the amendment as written, or you could change it a little bit and say, if that first article passes. You see what I'm saying?
You can, it's hypothetical, but we can do that.
Well,
But the whole point of the amendments coming in to be voted after the articles gives it room for discussion to run through the attorneys to get it correct.
Eric?
well,
Can I change gears? I move us along.
Yeah, sure. Because we have to go to executive session in a few minutes, because the planning board has a meeting at 7.
Yeah, at town meeting, there was an amount of money voted on for the contract with the lawyer that's sitting next to you. That amount of money was approximately $20,000.
Yeah.
And that has been paid, correct?
I don't know if it's
I
been paid
assume
yet.
because he's sitting here, that he's retained by the town.
It has not been paid yet.
So I guess my question would be, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, in one of these meetings, the Old Town's attorney was mentioned that she was still providing services to the town. So my question would be, how many firms do we currently have representing the town, and where is the extra money coming from that would be to pay over and above what Granton raised for this contract?
Leah resigned.
So
There's the name on.
Um,
She suggested we went
she did, but we have one case still.
I was gonna say, Mike should
Tied
have
up.
Mike Davis.
So there's still things going on, so is there any idea where that fund is going to be coming from to pay that?
Not this right this second, but it might come out of Mike's, because his is what the case is.
I'm happy to address the contract status if you want, but that's the question.
Money. Journalist who represents the town.
The guy peeking around the corner there.
So Dick or Alvina, did Leah send a letter stating that she?
No, we asked her on a case, and she said, why don't you refer that to the other attorney? That she hadn't touched it in a month.
But shouldn't the town get written confirmation that she's no longer?
We can ask her that, yeah. Bruce?
Yeah, this is another question for Zach. Sorry, but in your opening statement, you said you represented the planning board and the select board. But those are two different entities that require separate lawyers, don't they?
Occasionally, yeah, I'm happy to address this because it does go to the scope of what we do.
If it comes through the select board, right?
Yeah, so if the select board says there's a really complicated site plan review with the planning board, they may need some legal counsel. We staff an attorney for the planning board, and the engagement with the town is a flat fee, so there's no sort of out-of-pocket charge for us attending a planning board meeting or a board of appeals meeting or a select board meeting. That's all within the scope of the engagement with the town.
Well, my question was, the planning board is supposed to have their own lawyer, and the select board is supposed to have their own lawyer. So is it not a conflict of interest for you to represent both the planning board and the select board?
The chairman of the planning board, so you have Durwood Parkinson for your attorney, is that correct? Okay.
And we really like him.
I just want to make one thing about having it at a public meeting or a town meeting, a special town meeting. At the annual meeting, there's always amendments that are amended. So that's the difference between a referendum and a public town meeting or a special town meeting, is when someone presents an amendment. You know, it might have to be tweaked. or whatever, to everybody's taste. So that's why I'm not in favor of a referendum vote on, but town meeting vote.
May I just one thing about I just want to, Stuart Parkinson is a fantastic attorney. He's a really great attorney. And it makes sense occasionally for planning boards or boards of appeal to have separate legal counsel. Because it prevents, I think, the issue that you're conflict of interest concerns. That's not always the case, but when that is the case, Stuart is usually my call for conflict.
Well, I know, like you said, you represent the town and the select board, but then you mentioned something about representing the planning board too, and wait a minute, we have lawyers for the planning board already.
Those conflicts don't always come up, and so when they don't come up, we can do both, but when they do, conflict counsel is.
So it's not illegal for the same law firm to represent the selectmen and the planning board in certain instances.
It depends on the circumstances.
Holly, we're trying to reach. This is gonna be the last question, because we have to get this, so they can have their plan.
We had an issue with a dog in our neighborhood
Yep.
on my road. And so I went onto the town's site and I saw the cell phone, sorry. And I called and I left a message, and then like 48 hours later, I still hadn't heard back. I'm like, oh, that's so weird. So then I called and talked to Michelle, and Michelle was like, oh, you have the wrong number. It's this number. So then I called and Cindy answered the phone and we resolved hopefully the problem. Did you go there? Oh yeah. So anyway, I just, can that be, I know that there's like so much cell phone, town cell phone, personal cell phone. Can you guys figure that out or put both numbers?
She's
or-
supposed to be using the town phone, and she said it didn't work, but she hasn't brought it in. We asked her to bring it in, she hasn't done it
I
yet.
haven't had time,
We just,
because I cover 9 towns as animal control.
Maybe we can just forward that number to your phone and then any.
No. This is my personal phone.
All right.
Do I get a second to my motion?
no, I want to discuss it now. I want to discuss it now.
I don't care. Do I get a second to my motion? Put the 6 and 7 article that just regularly written up. One article. That's it. Sure. If they're gonna, we still got the answers. Choose their first one. And the good, the legal question. Yeah. We're going to. The amendment.